You got to keep a keen eye on this story now. That is across the Florida Strait in Havana, Cuba over the weekend. You've got Cubans in the streets protesting that country's communist regime. And right now, that government and that society is being significantly squeezed. People suffering under a series of crises. The island plunged into darkness yesterday at a nationwide blackout, hitting 11 million people and prompting more unrest. So where does it go? How much help do they need? What will the U.S. do in turn? Jillian Turner's got some answers right now for today from the State Department. Jillian, good morning there.
Good morning to you, Bill. Good to see you back. Cuba's national power grid has now completely collapsed under pressure of a U.S. oil embargo that has prevented any shipments of oil from reaching the country's shores since back on January 9th. Right now, the entire country remains in blackout for the second day running. President Trump says it is time for Cuba's president, Miguel Diaz-Canel, to step down. Asked by Fox News yesterday, he says he's planning to make the island nation of 10 million people his own. Listen.
I do believe I'll be having the honor of taking Cuba. That'd be good. That's a big honor.
Taking Cuba.
Taking Cuba in some form, yeah. Taking Cuba. I mean, whether I free it, take it, I think I could do anything I want with it.
It's not just electricity that is now out. The government has essentially been rationing airline flights, tourism visas, gas and hospital services, water. This all prompting these large-scale protests against the regime that have been building for weeks. The U.S. says a deal to force the regime's hand is in the works. Cuban Deputy Prime Minister says Cuba's private sector is now open to foreign investment by Cuban exiles living abroad, including right here in the U.S. How much of a difference that will actually make to the collapsing national economy remains to be seen. It is worth mentioning, Bill, that when President Trump began this campaign in the Western Hemisphere, beginning with the ouster of Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro, he said under U.S. action, people in the region would not suffer. Unfortunately, what we are seeing right now is that it is certainly not the case.
Okay, we'll see what comes next. Jillian, nice to see you, and it's good to be back. Thank you for that. Jillian Turner, State Department.
Alex Gray, former NSC Chief of Staff under President Obama. I asked yesterday a Cuban human rights activist, what are the terms of the deal as she understood them? She didn't know what they were, but she just wants relief. And that might be just like they'll take anything. But from your perspective, what would be an ideal deal if we were to get one?
Yeah, Dana, I think the ideal situation is that President Trump is able to do what his predecessors were not able to do, which is to get Cuba to change its behavior long term and change its regime. And I think that, the president's looking at the same set of facts that previous American presidents looked at, and they didn't do anything with it. Barack Obama looked at an opportunity in the 2010s, and he actually strengthened the regime. He opened a U.S. embassy there. He actually strengthened the regime and kept it on life support for another decade.
Didn't he go to a baseball game?
Yeah, he went to a baseball game. He was yucking it up with Raul Castro. He did everything he could to keep the Cuban regime alive. Donald Trump's looking at the same set of facts, and he has chosen to put maximum pressure on the regime. And I think where we could actually end up in the next couple of weeks, Dana, is for the first time in 70 years, we could have an opportunity for the Cuban people to actually experience freedom brought to them by Donald J. Trump.
So here's this human rights activist I mentioned, Rosa Maria Paya. Watch here.
We have to understand that the crisis in Cuba didn't start in January 3rd. The crisis has been ongoing for 67 years, and it is provoked by the dictatorship, not by the U.S. administration. The Cuban people are demanding freedom because we understand who is responsible for the suffering, and the one responsible is the regime.
Okay, one of the questions I have, though, is it's a little bit opaque there, right? There's not a lot of journalism. We don't have a lot of insight into it. In Venezuela, Maduro leaves, and things stay very, very calm. Nothing much changes, maybe. But in Cuba, every place is a little bit different. I mean, there's the Iranian example. Is Cuba more like a Venezuela situation?
Well, I think it's probably going to be more like that. Obviously, there are going to be differences between the two. But the reality is it's going to be a little bit more complicated because you've had 70 years, as that activist says, 70 years of the Cuban regime destroying the economy, the infrastructure. This is not anything the United States has done. We're now looking at a set of facts where the Cuban regime is collapsing on itself because of its own malfeasance and its own mismanagement. I do think because of the unique proximity to the United States, the human capital that's gone from Cuba to the United States over the last many decades, we do have an opportunity to rebuild the Cuban infrastructure and to rebuild the Cuban economy much faster than people probably realize.
Yeah, but we just put up a map to show you the proximity, everybody. It is there. So we'll see what happens with this. Obviously, it does feel like something is happening, maybe even in the next couple of weeks. Alex Gray, we will keep you on speed dial as that develops. Thank you.
Thanks, Dana.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.